It's very, very busy having an illness like cancer.
For many, many years, we've all been very focused on, how long you've got to live and what that quantity of life is going to be, and focused on trying to extend that. Quality of life's every bit as important, and that's where we fit in.
And out of all that busyness and all those meetings, it's nice to go to something that is enjoyable, it's fun, it's meeting other women that know exactly what you're going through.
When I come away from the workshops, I feel a lot more positive, and it benefits my family. Because believe me, they don't like a grumpy mother.
It's like a chronic condition. They're not, in hospital a lot of the time. They're living at home, and there was no support for these women.
I actually liked saying to people, I am 10 years down the track and I'm not going anywhere. And you see hope come on faces. If that old girl can make it for 10 years, so jolly well can I.
Every year, 2,500 New Zealand women are diagnosed with breast cancer. 15% will develop secondary breast cancer. Louise Perkins was a long-time sufferer of the disease.
Louise was probably the loudest and most social of all of us. She's my younger sister. We're a family of 6 children. She was kind of the 4th one down. She was lots of fun and very positive and really interested in people she met, and so she was great fun. She went through university, became a lawyer. She had just been married to Scott for a year at that stage. When she was 28, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. It looked like everything was going to be fine, but it was only just over a year later that it came back in her sternum. I think for women with metastatic breast cancer, the cancer's come back. They may be able to get it under control again with various forms of chemotherapy, but kind of those guarantees have gone. Their disease is no longer curable. For the next 10.5 years, she was on various types of chemotherapy. She actually had a very good quality of life during that time. It was probably only the last year that it was much tougher for her physically.
Louise Perkins died in December 2004. She was 39 years old. Her positive attitude and enduring spirit inspired the establishment of Sweet Louise.
When Louise, my sister, died, Scott went back through her diary and realised that every single day she did something to make herself feel good. And so from that, he thought, well, maybe that's something we can do for women, just this whole thought about being positive, about being yourself first, and someone with cancer away down the track. And so that's how it came about, really.
In 2005, the Louise Perkins Foundation established the charitable organisation Sweet Louise to help those suffering from secondary breast cancer. Currently, there are 160 members, over 40 services provided, and dedicated staff for supporting its members.
I got involved with Sweet Louise because of, the business, but also because I had a history of cancer. I learned about it in my journey.
Jennifer Clark is the Executive Director for Sweet Louise. She has helped many women to live a more positive life.
I came on about 6 weeks before we went live with the system, which is both the computer system and the whole operations. There is a gap for these women where they're in hospital only 2% of the time, okay? They can go through maybe 30 cycles of chemotherapy over a period of years, and they're living at home for most of that time, looking pretty normal.
For her, the cancer was just a very little part of her life. It was always how she lived. She did another degree in art history, she was in a book club, she had lots and lots of things, and she hated anyone thinking that her cancer defined her.
They don't look like someone who's going through a lot of trauma. They're living in a family life with all their obligations. So what we can help them do is live more positively with that, give them practical and psychological support to get them through.
A lot of people, when they get hit with something like this, they just want to go out there and tell everyone. And then there's other people like myself, well, I just withdraw and draw on my own reserves. I have 6 children, but we only have 2 at home, a 4.5-year-old and a 3-year-old, girl and a boy, and they're very active. My son, who is 2, At the time, we were playing on the floor, rolling around, and he jumped on my chest and it hurt. So I went to the doctor. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Things moved pretty quickly. Had a mastectomy. I was like, well, that's actually really good, because if you're going to get cancer, that's the best one to get because it's curable. And so I just went along my way thinking, that's right, I'm going to do what I need to do, and then I'm going to be cured, and I'm going to get on with my life, and I'm going to live it to the full. Just before we started the chemo, we did some scans and found that it had travelled to the lungs and liver and bone. And my diagnosis was very grim. Being told that you have advanced breast cancer or metastatic breast cancer is something akin to a death knell. It's just like your entire mountain of hope has just gone down the drain, because there is no cure.
I'm a registered nurse and I trained at Middlemore. Sweet Louise for me was an opportunity, was a privilege to potentially work for an organisation that was new, that hadn't yet launched. For me, the important part is it's flexible, it's free, and that it caters to the members' needs or wants in a way that they want. So nothing's prescriptive.
This is something that's very therapeutic too, actually. We're looking at doing a workshop for our ladies, with our ladies, to create some kind of a memory box, just a simple one.
We have ladies who are members, and we call them members because they don't need to be patients. You know, these are you and I at home. They just happen to be living with breast cancer.
I was 34 when I got diagnosed, and I actually had a tumour in both breasts and had to have a bilateral mastectomy. And from that I had to go through chemotherapy and radiation treatment. And I think it was during radiation time I heard about Sweet Louise, and they discovered that I actually had metastases in my bones. And so because of that I was able to join Sweet Louise. I've got 3 small children, and I find getting the time to pamper myself or do anything extra is really hard to find that time.
As a clinical psychologist, Danude has seen firsthand the emotional struggle people have when diagnosed with a terminal illness.
I think that the people that I've seen have got through the first stage of having the diagnosis, but they have found that it's become increasingly more difficult to cope.
For friends and family, it's a very emotional reaction, and that is natural, and all my family and friends have been very supportive.
They can be many more years than 5 years down the track when suddenly they've been told it's spread.
When you're diagnosed and actually told, no one gives you an instruction book as to how this thing works. You walk out into the world and you're just like, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? I have no idea how to react to this. I don't know how to talk about this. And you're in this void of being alone.
It's having someone to talk to. It's having someone who you can ask, where will I go for this? What can I do to help myself? What will help? And realising you're not alone. What we offer the women is a voucher system. So we fundraise to provide them access to services.
Good morning, Christine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. My name's Bianca. I'll be looking after you. Would you like to come on through?
If you're feeling really low, you can find yourself on the couch and you just think, I've just got to get up and move. And then you sort of look at this Sweet Louise and you think, oh, you know, I could go to an art class, or I could be with other people.
So Christine, we're just going to be in the greeting room today.
Right.
So what I'll get you to do is, when I leave the room, I'll get you to place on the gown and start getting relaxed for me, and I'll be back in a moment.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Yesterday I went and had a facial at Isis spa and had a lovely time. The face is still beyond redemption, but at least you come out, you feel so good and so relaxed and pampered. It's not going to cure your cancer, but it makes life really worth living.
That is a challenge all the time, is to find the positives in where you're at right now. I don't know any woman who doesn't like a massage, but when you're not well, it's just fantastic.
Women get so many vouchers every 6 months, and we made it every 6 months so that people would use them. They wouldn't think, oh, wait till I'm sicker. Do things while you're feeling good.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Wilma.
I thought it'd be good to catch up here after your facial.
Yes, no, that's lovely. Thank you.
So how was your facial?
It was really lovely, really relaxing, and real treat.
Oh, good.
We've got support coordinators who can look after them, who are on the end of the telephone, who can say, yep, that's fine, this is where you need to go for this help.
Hello, Sweet Louise, Cinda speaking. Can I help you? I was a baby intensive care nurse for 20 years, and when we first came to New Zealand, I decided that I wanted a change in career. My father had had cancer and he was looked after by the hospice, and I can remember thinking what an amazing job they did. So I wanted to go into hospice work.
Coming and talking to a professional, to say someone at Sweet Louise or myself, gives them a neutral space where they can actually kind of lay out on the table all the things that they're thinking and feeling.
It's not until you ask for help and actually go to the likes of, you know, Sweet Louise and the Cancer Society and hospice and all those different organisations that you start to feel like, yes, you've got this disease, but you're feeling perfectly normal. The feelings you have are perfectly normal. And yes, you can feel like you're starting to lose it, but that again is perfectly normal.